I have struggled with being a clutterer and a messy for as long as I can remember, my entire life. Like Flylady says, I'm going to get myself dressed to lace up shoes so that I can remember that working on my house and decluttering is my job today. Also made sure that I'm already getting myself caffeinated. Let's go ahead and get started.
So as promised, I'm going to tackle this shelf today. My last project was working in the kitchen, and you guys joined along with me in getting that done. I made a lot of progress in purging some of the extra items that I had. My kitchen is really small, and I don't actually like this shelf that I have in front of my window, but because I have almost no cabinet space in the actual kitchen, I put this up in the house when I just moved in as a way to try to store pots and pans, because I really didn't have any other place to do so. My eventual hope is to minimize my kitchen items enough that I can actually get rid of it. The house has a lot of windows and sliding glass doors, so I actually have very little wall space in addition to having very little cabinetry. But so far, this is what I have, and I'm going to work with it. And today's project is just going to be to try to get rid of a lot of what's on here, figure out what pots and pans are old and worn out. I've got these Dollar Tree racks that I just showed you that I'm hoping I can keep some pot lids on, although I think I probably actually have too many pot lids. Anybody else have pots without lids and lids without pots? I'm disorganized, so I oftentimes don't even know what I have. Making sure I'm caffeinated here, keep going on that. Got some pot holders and things that I don't really know what I need to use them for, a bag that needs to go to Goodwill. This was for a birthday party. It's time to throw that in the trash and get rid of it pronto. It's been hanging there. My kids' running medals for cross country and track are hanging on here. And a bottle of oil that needs to be thrown out because it's too old to use it now. I don't even know how to dispose of oil very well. I live in a rural area and I don't have an oil disposal. Anybody knows what to do with that? If you do, tell me in the comments below because I'm at a loss for that. One of the things I really need to do is just take stock of what I have and figure out how much I truly need anymore. Up until recently, I had 4 children living with me. Ooh, dirty rags that are stained. I'm going to throw those in the trash. I have all kinds of stuff like that I don't need to keep stained dish rags anymore. That one was disgusting. I'm checking out these thermoses. Why do I have 3 funnels? I guess it's because that's how they come from Dollar Tree. Anybody else have trouble just getting rid of things if it comes in a 3-pack, even though you only use one of them? That happens to me all the time. I've got my colander hanging on hooks and stuff like that. These cake pans came from my grandmother, and I do like those, but I rarely bake because I have so much clutter in my kitchen that it's hard for me to spend time doing it. So that's actually a priority of mine. I'd like to try to spend more time baking some of the recipes that my family members have handed down to me when I get my kitchen tidier. I started to put some plants up on there, and I quickly realized that that was not actually accomplishing my mission for today, which is to clear the shelf, not to decorate the shelf. And because of my ADHD, I often get off track. I know I'm supposed to be clearing and cleaning things, but instead I find myself sidetracked and decorating. I put some things in the oven there. Oh wow, I found the hooks that I need to rehang my calendar correctly, and there's a new hook in there to hang my broom up. I'm so excited when I find things through decluttering that I've been looking for, so I don't have to waste money going back to the store or deal with things inappropriately put together or broken in my house. This is my bin of tea, and I'm going to tackle that. I have a huge collection of tea, and I realize that it stems from a desire that I have to be able to entertain people and to invite them into my home. But because my house is so messy, I can never achieve that goal. And the reality is that in my mind, what I'm trying to provide is a type of abundance. So I would invite guests to my home, and I would have a smorgasbord of all these different types of tea to offer them. But what really happens is that no one comes over, and that I have clutter of every kind, and tea that is old, and too many choices. And instead of having guests come and being able to offer them 1 or 2 types of tea, I have no one come. And so I'm just going to go through here. I'm emptying out boxes. I actually found a couple of boxes that had no more tea bags or 1 tea bag, and a number of types of tea that have just been sitting here for months or even years because I don't really like it. So some of the tea was given to me as gifts, and some of it was even picked up at hotels when I stayed there. I am giving myself permission to throw out what I don't want, and I've been able to pare the basket down to just these few different types of tea, and I'm feeling really good about it. The rest of it is going to be given to friends or composted. And now my little basket has my teapot in it, and all these were duplicates or going away, so that was a lot of space to clear out. Okay, it's time for me to actually get my lace-up shoes on. I should have done that earlier. I told myself I could wear my house shoes or my slippers around and be just as productive. That never works. Why don't I just put my shoes on from the get-go? Well, I've taken care of it now. I'm using my little step stool to get to my upper cabinets and top part. Okay, so I pulled that stained dish rag out. I'm going to go ahead and use it to scrub down the windowsill that is really dirty and extremely dusty. It hasn't been wiped down in at least 6 months. Let's be honest, it might have even been a year at this point. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and throw that out. I'm not going to try to wash it or bleach it. I'm going to use it. It wasn't dirty, but it was badly stained. And the last time it came out of the wash so stained, I should have just thrown it away at that time. But I tend to hold on to things. I think, oh, this will be great for later, or I'll use this as a backup, even though I know I have 15 cleaning rags. So I'm going to use this to... My fingernail clippers! Yay, I've been looking for those. I can finally give myself a manicure. Here's some more of the tea that I have. It's wonderful, Mighty Leaf. I love it. Okay, that's a broken trivet that was handed down to me from my grandmother. It was in her home the whole time I grew up, and even though she handed down 4 of them to me, I kept holding on to the broken one because I felt guilty about it getting broken in my move. I gave myself a pass there. I threw it away, and I'm also going to throw away some disposable things like that aluminum muffin pan. It was dirty, and I think I'd already used it once. I have trouble getting rid of things because I feel like it's wasteful. I found a matching teaspoon that goes with my daughter's little collection, and I'm going to take all the different papers and paperwork, throw away as many of them as I can, and then I'm going to put the rest of them into a paperwork box that I'm going to deal with later. These are little odds and ends that have been hanging around in the house for months. I'm giving myself permission to just throw them in the garbage. And so far, a lot of the stuff that's come off the rack is either going to Goodwill or it went straight into the trash, and I'm feeling really good about that. Now I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the emotional reasons that I tend to hang on to things. I've already mentioned that I sort of have this dream of being someone who is a hostess or who entertains people. And even though my messy house hasn't made that a reality, I have trouble being honest with myself. And I think a lot of my clutter, hoarding, and things like that relates to ideas of myself and who I want to be. And the thing about the clutter that's kind of amazing is that it's actually the clutter that I hang on to because of these dreams that is keeping me from fulfilling the dreams. Found a water bottle that we've been looking for a while. That's always exciting. But the great irony is that it's getting rid of the clutter that can allow me to achieve the goals that I want to. So I'm finding a couple of the pots that I like and use regularly, and I'm choosing those, and I'm going to put those back onto the shelf so that they're easily accessible and I'm able to access them whenever I want to. I love to cook soups and stews, so I do use big stew pots a lot. And then I'm going to try to create a sort of baking center on the rack so that I know where all my baking items are. I'm going to give this Dollar Tree rack a try and see if I like it for holding my pot lids. The jury's going to be out on whether or not I like it and whether or not I regularly use it. When I went to Dollar Tree, I pulled a typical hoarder move, and instead of buying one pot lid rack, I bought 4 of them, thinking to myself, well, they just cost $1, so it's only $4. Now that I'm actually using it, I realize each one of them holds 5 lids, I think, and I really don't need a holder for more than 5. Most of my pots can be stored with their lids on. Any of the other pots that I store stacked without their lids on probably don't amount to 5 other lids, and if they do, I probably need to purge them. One of the other challenges I have about this spot is that the heating vent for this entire room is actually underneath that rack. So on the bottom shelf, I actually have to keep it kind of open so that the heat can blow up through it. Because if I don't do that, the room doesn't stay heated in the winter and air conditioned in the summer properly. There's my narcissus, looking for a spot to put it on the shelf, distracting myself with my ADD again. I'm putting some of the pot lids in the oven, but as I watch myself, I'm second guessing that now in retrospect, thinking, why did I do that? I should have just stored them on the pots or figured out if the pots are missing and if I need to get rid of the lids. Sometimes watching myself do this later is fantastic because it gives me an idea of what my next purge needs to be, so I'll tackle those lids in the oven the next time I clean the kitchen out to try to figure out, why do I have so many? One of the things I hope to gain from making progress in my house this year is to give the family, including myself, more space for creativity. In the kitchen, I hope to be able to cook more. I'm working on healthy choices and healthy meals, and for my kids, for them to have the space to be creative as well. Not just the physical space, but the mental and emotional space that comes from having a lighter and airier and more open workspace. And here I am feeling pretty good about this. Almost everything on the shelf either went to donation or went into the garbage or was put away into another area of the house where it belonged because its home wasn't on this shelf. So already I feel like this shelf is well on the way to being able to disassemble it eventually and just have some lower cabinetry area there rather than covering up my whole window. But today was a good day and I got a lot done. I'm feeling happy. So hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this as I try to get my house back under control this year. Thanks, everybody.